Welcome back, DNA Strand crew, to the newest episode of the Culture Shock here on the Dynasty DNA Podcasting Network. I'm your host, TJ Blake. You can follow me over on Twitter at FFTJBlakeDNA. And as always, for the Cultured Shock, we're joined by the Cultured One, Big Culture Bob Helfert. You can follow him over on Twitter at Big E Fat Bob. Okay, Bob. Culture Shock Week 11, a lot going on, some returns of some players, more injuries to players, a lot to digest. You ready to talk some Week 11 Culture Shock?
Sure enough. Let's see what we can harness here.
Harness. All right. Bob means business here. I like that. Harness. He's harnessing it. Okay, so we got the topic number one here, Bob. As I mentioned, a lot going on today. What is on your mind first, post Week 11 here? What are you thinking about?
So I am legitimately interested in buying as much of the New England Patriots as I can possibly get. And I don't know that their ancillary pieces aren't a good idea to go get either. I actually started out a list or whatever of what I wanted to talk about. More of it was directed towards dynasty owners, but the more and more I thought about it, I'm like, man, this fits the NFL too. Like I want to talk about what makes a good NFL franchise, like knowing your direction, so on and so forth. Like, but it's the teams that I started to pick. I'm like, man, these all fit into these categories I kind of wanted to talk about anyway, like the New England Patriots. So what do? Last year they go out and they get their quarterback, and then this year they go out and they bring in their head coach, which generally I don't care for. But we could all see that why can't I think of his name? Mayo was probably not the guy that was going to unlock this offense and this team. Mind you, they also didn't have Josh McDaniels. And when they brought Vrabel back in, Vrabel is a Kraft guy, a Belichick guy. Daniels is a Kraft guy, a Belichick guy. They bring all these pieces back into play. And Drake May posted sometime this week. He's like, man, I'm just running the same plays Tom Brady was running. Well, holy crap. Imagine that. The guy that won, 6, 7 Super Bowls or whatever from the 6th round, so on and so forth. Like, stud. I think he was 7th round pick. I think I said 6th round. Who's the 7th round? 7th round pick. 199. I know that, but whatever. I digress. So, yeah. And then we got Mac Hollins getting triple digits this week and last week. It's like, no, hold on. He didn't get triple digits this week. He got triple digits last week. This week he gets 64 yards. It's not like I'm already talking myself out of like whatever. But even still, Mac Hollins has a good game both weeks. And he's doing it with lesser pieces, which is what Brady kind of did it with until, of course, they bring in Randy Moss and they break records and so on and so forth. But have we noticed that the superstar quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything, like Baker Mayfield, a lot of them are doing it with these pieced together offensive rooms because with Baker, it's been injury. And of course they drafted Ibuka, but then they're the other two, Patrick Mahomes or whatever, they don't have their guys are getting paid too much. That's a totally different topic or whatever, but they're doing it with lesser skill position rooms and the quarterback's making everything work. I can't imagine how much better New England will be if they draft a wide receiver in the top two rounds of the draft next year. And I mean, everything I've heard from the draft next year is there's a whole lot of wide receiver twos. Hence why I'm selling off most of my 2026 picks, because I'd rather have wide receiver one target hogs on my team. I would think everybody and their mom would. So, but whoever goes to this team, I'm going to want a piece of, because I think that at any point, May could just turn them into a superstar. And that's just how I feel about it. This is a team that I want to get pieces of. I play in IDP leagues and I want to get pieces of their IDPs too, because quite frankly, they're making plays. Vrabel's bringing in guys he can count on. Harold Landry come from Tennessee when he brought him over. Gibbons, are you freaking kidding me? That dude was a total, like, scraped off the bottom of the barrel linebacker, and he looks good in New England. Splain, like, Pittsburgh, reject, and then what? Oh, Vegas. I think he was in Vegas too. Is like, and they scrape him off the heap or whatever. Now, mind you, they got Barrymore and Milton Williams that they're paying a lot of money to in the middle to slow down the running game. But then you got Travion Henderson that's doing all this amazing running stuff. Oh, it looks glorious. I want pieces of Pittsburgh. Or sorry, not Pittsburgh, the Patriots. I'm sorry, I like that.
Yeah, I want pieces of New England too. We talked about it, right? This New England offense, and to everyone's credit, especially like I know some people weren't as high as like you and I were, Bob, but a lot of people on the network were very high. And we were saying we want to get in on this team. We identified them this offseason saying that it's going the right way. Now, did we think it was going to happen this quick? No. And we talked about this a lot, but you see the emergence of some of these guys, and like you said, it's all Drake May driven. That's why I want to talk about Drake May. And I want to talk to the owners of Drake May out there. Like, I know a lot of people, are sitting there and they're very pleased, and you should be, but there are some people as well that's pushing the narrative of, hey, he's played easy competition, this and that. No, if you can do it in this league, you can do it, right? Like, I understand that the schedule is a little weaker. That isn't Drake May's fault. He's just playing the schedule that was given to him. He will continue to develop. Really, if anything, I think that helps Drake May just by the simple fact of like, hey, you know what? Let's get his feet under him. We ain't going to throw him to the Lions right away. And I think that's really helped. And the fact that he can elevate these players, like you said, Bob, Mac Hollins, I mean, the ghost of Stephon Diggs is starting to look like it's coming alive again. He looked great these last couple games. It kind of looks like the old Stephon Diggs, kind of building off that ACL. And honestly, that's kind of one of my favorite, buys as far as a veteran guy. I mean, I have no problems paying a 26-second for Stephon Diggs right now, just based off the easy schedule. And I think he's only going to get better coming back from this ACL. But you brought up New England. Let's just touch on Travion Henderson really quick, Bob, because I think that this is very, very important for everyone that has him out there. We said, look, you got to be patient. It's coming at some point. We knew this guy had talent. Like, we just knew Mike Vrabel wasn't going to throw him out there. We all were frustrated, right? We're like, look, we're just going to go with what we have. We're not going to sit here and undersell the guy. So Travion Henderson, Bob, do you think the breakout's here? Now, let me ask you, just based off the way we've seen Mike Vrabel do it, if he brings back Ramondre Stevenson and like the steam gets a little less and people's sales on Travion Henderson again, I'm taking full advantage and buying. Are you not too
like
going into next season?
I've talked about this trade a couple of times, but I traded Travion in a second for Jonathan Taylor, and I'm only slightly regretting it, right? Like, because I'm like, man, I could have had the younger guy, kept my second, but then I'm also like, I'm in a win now team, and Jonathan Taylor's an absolute stud, and he's doing absolutely fabulous. And I think that the genie could be put back in the bottle a little bit. And if that's the case, then for sure I'm going to go try and buy. I think Vrabel's smart enough to be like, hey, look, we have a couple of guys that are capable. I'm not a fan of the fumbling. He's probably not a fan of the fumbling. But like, if you can still win games and turn the ball over a little bit, who cares, right? Like, it just happens. Like, you don't want to, but it just makes it a little bit more challenging. I'm sure that when they played Cleveland and Drake May got sacked 5 times, they weren't very happy about it. But then again, it's like, hey, it just made it more challenging. And to talk about the schedule and like, oh, they beat Buffalo, like they've beat Tampa Bay. Like, let's their 2 losses were a stupid loss against Vegas at the very beginning of the year, and then a loss against Pittsburgh that more than likely they shouldn't have lost. We've kind of talked about that, and I know that you like, hey, they totally lost the game. They just kind of gave it away. And I mean, whatever the case may be, we've seen teams lose stupid games. Buffalo losing to Miami, and then turning around and beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers today was like, it's like, well, are they down or are they up? Are they down or are they up? It's a weekly, not for long game. And we got to quit just expecting teams to run the table. Will never happen again. And it'll just be a shock if it ever even gets close to me, because the NFL wants parity. And guess what? The NFL is going to get parity because they'll make it happen one way or the other. So, without that. But yes, Travion Henderson is for sure a buy. Like, if I could get him, and it's like, what I don't want to do is pay through the teeth for it, right? Like, if I could part with a wide receiver 2 and a second-round pick, whatever, I wouldn't mind doing that, because it's like, I think that he's young enough. He's doing what I've seen so far without taking huge hits. He's not like, he's not an up the middle grinder. He can do it, but he doesn't have to all the time. I liked him in college. I mean, I've got a lot of him in Debbie shares, and it's absolutely helping my teams in situations where I've kept him instead of selling the farm for other players.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm going for Travion Henderson this offseason. Like, not if he finishes the season strong, because I think he's going to be too unattainable. Like, I'm not going to super overpay for him. But if Ramondre comes back and kind of lessens his work share again, and everyone's kind of like down the dumps, I'm going for him big, because I think he's going to have a huge sophomore campaign. And we talked about Stephon Diggs as a contender all day long for a second round pick. I'm okay with that, especially 2026. And Kayshon Boutte, a guy that's been hurt, a guy that you like, Bob, a guy that I like, that maybe you could take advantage right now just being hurt. You can low-key pick him up, grab him, want pieces of this offense, just like Bob said. And watch what they do in the draft and free agency, right? That's going to be really important. I love New England, and we got to get as many steps ahead of this as we can. Like, every game that goes by, every win that goes by, it just gets tougher to get into this offense. So, Bob, I love that you continually bring them up. And Big Drake May believer like you, Bob, and we'll see what happens. We'll talk about him a ton this offseason, I'm sure, no doubt about it. But next topic on the list, big culture.
So just one more thing. It's a good culture team, right? And they're doing good culture things. That's kind of what I preach. So number 2, we'll take a trip down bad culture time, and we'll talk about the Atlanta Falcons. Like, are you serious? Like, they're wasting Bijan Robinson. Michael Penix is trash. They probably never should have signed Kirk Cousins. Even if they should have just went ahead and tanked it there because Penix wasn't the answer. And the worst part is like the Rams, who've won a Super Bowl, in like the last 5-6 years. I don't remember when they won it. I don't keep that much of a track of it, but they're going to get a top 10 pick because Atlanta's so god awful that they traded to make sure they could get Pearson. They're going to end up getting the top 10 pick because they were trying to fix their pass rush so much. Like, come on, man. Your pass rush has been terrible forever. Just allow it to happen. Like, don't pressure the situation. And whatever. That was just so dumb. And then, like, it's ruining Drake London. I don't know. I wish I knew off the top of my head. Did Drake London, have they signed an extension yet? Or is he like, does he have like 2 years left?
He signed an extension, Bob, if I had to guess, right? I think he did. But let me just say this, I got to give you the props on Drake London, giving him a call out saying how good he is, because today he had that back injury. He was ill, and I still think he scored 17 or 18 points. This guy is solid as solid could be. I think he's wide receiver 6 on the year. And I mean, you were right. I mean, with this mess. And see, that's why I can't make the excuses, because it's like we talk about the bad quarterback play, how bad Atlanta is. Look what Drake London has done. Like, I love Garrett Wilson, but like, man, oh man. Like, if you just tell me right now, Drake London's way more of a valuable dynasty commodity than Garrett Wilson every week on a garbage team, like you're saying, Bob. So, and like you're saying, they're wasting Bijan Robinson. They're wasting Drake London. Look, and it's just like from a fantasy standpoint, it's okay in the short term, but I'm going to tell you what, this is going to matter in the next couple of years. Like, if you have Drake London, you have Bijan Robinson, I mean, it could maybe get worse than even what it is right now. You got to be careful, right? I'm not saying panic sell, but you might have to be a little more cerebral regarding those players. And a guy that you brought as a low-key buy from this team, Tyler Algier, scored again today. I mean, every team wants a guy like Tyler Algier. You said it. He's going to be a free agent this coming offseason. We talked about that. I mean, there is a lot of teams that could use a pounder like that. I think that could be a low-key buy low guy. Look, I wouldn't do it right now because I think people want just a little too much. Like we talk about, running backs are always a little bit more pricey, right? But like, man, oh man, like I would like to buy Tyler Algier this offseason on the cheap before free agency, like we talked. I know you're all about that, Bob, at least from the Atlanta perspective, right?
So, yes. So, like, I bought Tyler Algier, and this price will sound high if you're not familiar with how Devy leagues work. But basically, we're allowed to keep, there's 60 Devy players on our rolling roster every year in this league, and I traded a second and a third for Algier because I just believe he'll end up getting a spot next year. I can find Devy players late, and it is what it is. So yeah, Drake London is proving that he's QB proof because but he's got to get targeted. So he did get 9 targets today, 7 catches. That's awesome. And he catches balls that are like what I think are well out of his radius, and then it turns around. I'm like, holy crap, he came down with that. So, which the thing is, and I can't imagine that they want to sign Pitts to an extension, but you've got Pitts at like he was a top 5 pick. Then you got Drake London the very next year, right? Was a top 10 pick. And then I think Bijan was a top 10 pick or whatever, top 5 pick maybe. And then you turn around and have Penix right after that, who's a top 10 pick. Like when these contracts start to come to roost, this team's not going to be able to afford all these players. But I can't imagine they're going to sign Pitts or whatever. And I may have the order out of line or whatever in the top of my head, but I think that's how they got drafted. But yeah, the Pitt, and again, here we go. Kyle Pitts, like, just what does he do? Like, I don't even understand. And I don't want to just blame at this point. I got to quit just blaming Kyle Pitts. He's not even getting enough targets. He's ginormous. Like, is he just an absolute failure who doesn't try? Or is it just like our offense doesn't involve this guy that's supposedly super talented? I don't know. So, and it does start with the quarterback, and it's a left-handed mess. I've said it before. I'll say it again. It just doesn't work out. And then, of course, then everybody will be like, oh, Tua won the game this week. Like, but whatever, stop, because that's a yo-yo too. And everybody wants to get rid of Tua too. It is what it is there. But
so Bob, let me ask you though, Bob. Let me ask you, as Atlanta Falcons team, and you're right. This is a dumpster fire. This is low key a dumpster fire right now. And I think, like you said, people can get wool pulled over their eyes from a fantasy perspective because Drake London's a stud, Bijan Robinson's a stud. They're doing it with nothing, right? Like, they are capable of that. So you're kind of getting wool pulled over your eyes. Do you think that the coaching staff gets fired this year? I kind of said that at the beginning of the season. I predicted Raheem Morris and them guys would be let go. I think there's a very strong chance that could happen. So then and how long do you think the leash is on Michael Penix?
The irony is of this, TJ, in my opinion, is like, who's going to replace these guys? Like, I just don't even know. Like Daboll getting fired the other day, and I can't remember. Oh, the big hot rumor that I heard was Gruden, bringing Gruden. But man, Gruden's got like a lawsuit right now with the NFL. Man, if they were to hire him, that would be so nuts. I just don't even see how that would all work out. And if that's where we're digging, if that's the itch we're trying to scratch is going to get Gruden, like who does that leave like the second, third, and fourth firings for? Like, I mean, I think that they probably should get fired, but I don't think it should get the coach is the problem. Does it look bad because of the coaching? Yes, but take a couple steps up. Who brought in all these picks? How is it that we've got well, I just went through four top 10-ish picks, and our team's trash. And then we invested more into getting to help our defense, and it's tough. We got another top 10 pick coming up that we're not even going to have control of. They need to wash the whole system. And I mean, let's be honest, Arthur Blank is kind of his own crazy version of Jerry Jones, right? He inducted himself into his own Ring of Honor. So it's like, I'm so awesome. I mean, I took this team to the Super Bowl and we lost after being up 28-3. Whatever. Like, and they've always been a splash team, right? Because they were the ones that they traded to make sure they could get Michael Vick. Well, you know what they gave up to get Michael Vick? They gave up LaDainian Tomlinson. They gave up Drew Brees. I can't Merriman, man. I think there was like a linebacker, and I think they also gave up a guy, a pick that ended up being like a kicker that was like an all-world kicker for like 15 years in the NFL. Like, the whole thing in a nutshell was like, you gave up all that to get Michael Vick, again, another left-handed quarterback that didn't get them anywhere.
Yeah, and you're right. They did expend a lot of that capital, and with making them splashy plays, like you said, Bob. And this is an offense that I am just not really, in love with. So it's definitely bad. I think it only can maybe get worse. Just be careful if you have Drake London or Bijan. I'm not saying the talent ain't there. Them guys are great, but the wheels are slowly coming off of this, and there will be a better day, right? And there might be a better day to buy these players low. So if something could happen, but just be careful with what you're doing with Atlanta Falcons. Tyler Algier, though, and I give you credit, I think sneakily this offseason, the fact he's leaving that team might get an opportunity somewhere else. Could be a guy that you want to look at. We called Rico Dwaddle, this offseason, right? Like we said, Rico Dwaddle. So Tyler Algier is another guy to watch. So interesting take on the Atlanta Falcons. It is a mess, Bob. And Michael Penix, JJ McCarthy, I know it's not looking good for either of those
Just
guys.
one more splash on this. You put a lot of effort into fixing your defense, right? You did sack Bryce Young 5 times a day, but you also allowed him to get almost 450 yards passing. This is the second time this team scored 30 points against you. The first time you didn't score a point against them. This time you scored 27 and lost in overtime, right? But you still lost. And that's the team that's supposed to be the worst team in your division. Well, maybe the second worst team with the Saints, but whatever. Yeah, they don't have a plan. And yes, I like Algier. I liked Algier when he came out. I think you even said that you guys were high on him when he came out. He's a ex quarterback / linebacker who's turned into a running back, and it's weird how that works sometimes. But yeah, I think he could have a very prominent role on a team if somebody just give him the keys to the car.
Yeah, and he's just a football player, Tyler Algier, and that's what I like about him. Like you said, Bob, he's played a little bit of everything. And one last thing I want to say, the Carolina Panthers are a little bit on the rise sneakily here in this division. Ted McMillan's looking great. Bryce is playing a little bit better. We know they can run the football. Dave Canales, a lot of success. So I'm with you. So next on the hit list here for the Culture Shock.
So let's talk a little positive, and I know this is going to twist a little slim knife, and I'm trying not to be. I'm not going to be hateful because I'm going to bounce back. I'm going to go a little positive later for Slim also. But the 49ers, this team has a knack, and I talked about this before, maybe the only team that's figured it out. If we're going to suck, let's suck to the bottom, because when we suck to the bottom, we get a last place schedule, which is easier for us to deal with. We can lose a few games here and there. We have to play our division tough, but everybody plays their division tough in that division. That sounds really repetitive, but you get my point. All 4 of those teams play each other really, really well. So all we got to do is maybe break 500 in our division. We got a last place schedule. We knock out bad teams. Brock Purdy comes back healthy, and all of a sudden it's like, bam, this whole offense looks like it's unlocked. It came out of nowhere. Pearsall, of course, coming back has a little bit to do with it. And it's like, I don't want to say oh, we should have never traded Pearsall because that sounds ridiculous. And I mean, he only had 1 catch today for no yards. So, but maybe it drew people away. I don't know how this offense ran today. I didn't actually get to see the footage, but McCaffrey's a machine, and as long as he's healthy, this team's going to excel. And then on top of that, Purdy just dices defenses apart, man. It's crazy how it works out. Now, mind you, they're playing the Arizona Cardinals, who are maybe one of the worst teams in the NFL, but I digress. But this is a good ramp-up game for them the rest of the year, right? San Francisco. So I wanted to look at kind of the rest of their schedule. So they play the Panthers again, which, they play Cleveland, and then they got their bye. So they got a chance to even try and get a little more healthy toward the end of their season. They play the Titans, Colts, the Bears in our fantasy playoffs. I don't know about you, but that's pieces that I'd want in my fantasy playoffs. All 3 of them games could be shootout games. Or they just annihilate the Panther or the Titans. Maybe they don't. Maybe all they do is run Brian Robinson all against the Titans, and you're disappointed. Okay, well then with the next 2 weeks, you probably got shootout opportunities. It's a team that I like having pieces of them, but I don't want to overly invest because it's such a team that gets beat up. It's like you never know which guy's going to get hurt, and I still don't like Ayuk. I never thought the contract for Ayuk was worth it. I'm as a fan of people who are fans of Pittsburgh, I didn't want to see that pain go there because I'm sure that would have sucked for you guys. You know what I mean? I was like, that's a bad idea in my opinion. He just seems like a cancerous human being. I think Pearsall's got talent, but health is important. Don't get me wrong. It's like they just, I mean, even at 200 passing yards, and Christian McCaffrey only had 81 yards on the ground, but Kittle is a big piece of this. And I think as long as McCaffrey, Purdy, and Kittle are healthy, this team can beat just about anybody. And that's it.
Yeah,
And
and
they
I
always play
have to
good
agree.
defense.
They always play good defense. Solid, just well coached. This is a well coached football team. We've always said it about the 49ers. And like, this is why I had George Kittle I'm willing to trade a first for George Kittle, because I knew, like you said, you're investing in that good of an offense. He did it again today. He had a massive game tight end too. Like, man, oh man, like if there's still a trade window needing a tight end, George Kittle makes a ton of sense. If you could still acquire him for a first, I don't care what is it. Kelsey's 35, 36. He had another good game today. Like these guys, these tight ends can last a long time. And, Bob, my only question with the 49ers is Brock Purdy, I was a little bit worried about this week. I'm not going to lie, because coming back from that long of a, absentee injury, Mac Jones playing well, he really put his stamp on this offense a little bit, right? So Brock Purdy come in, and I was thinking maybe we see kind of the same from Ricky Pearsall, get him going a little bit, but man, oh man, quiet as can be. Are you still going to be a little bit patient? What's your worry level on Ricky Pearsall before we move over to the next one?
This depends on where I've got Pearsall in my hierarchy, right? I'm not trying in any way, shape, or form to humble brag. I want to see if I can find Pearsall on a team that, real quick. So this team here, I have Pearsall, but my wide receivers are that I'm starting. I start CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nico Collins, Rashid Rice. So I start, and I could start 3 more wide receivers, but like Pearsall's so far down in my depth chart there that I'm not like frazzled. You know what I mean? Like I want to see it through. Like there's some guys that I kind of want to see through. And maybe it's that I feel like he lives in the area that I think Kittle lives in, which makes it a little bit more like if Kittle's healthy, you know what I mean? I don't think that they might not feed well together. You know what I mean? It may end up being a Pearsall game or a Kittle game, or if that type of thing. But Kittle's like, how many times have we seen the game where Kittle is the only dog in the show and just blows up? But then, like, when other wide receivers come back, Kittle kind of takes a back seat. So maybe that's what we're looking at. And Pearsall was out for a long time too. You know what I mean? He's got a little bit of a ramp up. I would have hoped that we'd have seen more for sure, but I don't think I threw him out in any starting lineups. You know what I mean? And I think it would be ill-advised to have thrown him out in a starting lineup after being out for I think he was out at least 6 weeks, if not at least 4. So it's one that I'll just hold on to unless somebody comes barking on my door and give me an offer I can't refuse. You know what I mean? That almost everybody's available. If you come in, you're like, I got the offer you can't refuse. The Godfather thing. You give me a Godfather offer, then man, I might sell anybody. So.
Yeah, I have to agree. But yeah, I mean, like, I think it's good to be a little bit patient, but it is worrisome, right? Like, he should be commanding the targets in this offense on the wide receiver spot. So he is somebody to watch next week to me. Like, I want to see more. Like, what was it, 1 point today? Like, I get it. You got to ramp yourself back up. I don't know how severe his injury was or what maybe his work level was going to look like. That's always a scary thing, starting people coming back from injuries. Just be careful, right? That's all I got to say. We'll have to keep an eye on it.
I think it was a PCL strain or whatever, which, strain is like verbiage for near tear or complete, you know what I mean? It just wasn't a complete tear where he had to get surgery, but it was like a minor tear where he needed to, camp. I'm pretty sure it's PCL, and all them CLs, you got to worry about them. You know what I mean? You don't want to tear any of them.
Yeah, it's always bad when you hear anything CL related. You're right, but we'll have to keep our eye on Ricky Pearsall. I just want to see some improvement, and hopefully they can ramp him back up, and we'll see. Bob asks, I'm at 132. He has David Montgomery at 108. Am I all right? I think you're all right, Bob, honestly. Like David Montgomery, it's all touchdown driven. Usually, at best, you're talking about probably 20-ish points from David Montgomery. Even if he could hit that ceiling, you still got a little bit of a buffer there. I think you'll be okay. So it's good. You're in a good spot, Bob. But let's go over now to number 4 on the list, Big Culture. What do we have?
So I got the Seahawks. Okay. And I want to give Slim a little bit of reprieve from the fact that they lost the game today. Number one, they've been pretty much lighting it up. We can't just all throw our hands up in the air for one loss. And this is a team that they're going to play each other tough again. But the fact that you only lost by 2 points and you had 4 interceptions, like, I don't want to say hang your hat on the fact that you lost, but you should have got dominated. If this team was if the Rams were so much better than you and you gave them the ball 4 extra times, you should have got creamed. Like, let's not hang our heads down. This is an offense that I want pieces of. Torrey Horton, um, my stepson's calling me. I don't know what's going on there. Torrey Horton, JSN. The running backs are meh, but like legitimately, I don't know what's going on there. But like, I would prefer to get as many of the pass catchers. I still like Darnold. It's like he's bound to have a bad game every now and again. It's just, and again, it's a team that's going to play him tough. Like, let's not bury our heads in the sand over one loss. Yes, but you would rather have Darnold than Geno Smith, right? I mean, that's how I look at it. So it's like, this is a team I still want to buy pieces of. Any Rashid Shaheed in this game, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's I didn't look at the statistics or whatever, but like, I'm sure that it wasn't all bad. Jackson Smith-Njigba has another 100-yard game. Kenneth Walker having a 100-yard game is kind of crazy. But then A.J. Barner having 10 catches for 71 yards. Like, you can't be – we can't just be totally upset about it.
No, and I like giving the Seahawks a little support here, Bob, and I agree. Like, because Slim was a little bit down in the chat, but like my only thing with the Seahawks is like, and I'm not knocking Sam Darnold because Minnesota needs Sam Darnold bad right now, right? But like, it just seems like he has trouble elevating in these bigger games at times for these teams than the alternative. I don't care; he's way better than what Geno Smith was going to give you, but you have to expect this from him. He was Sam the Superman. He kind of got exposed a little bit here, playing a little bit better of a defense. But you look at it, Bob, they hung in there. That defense is very tough for Seattle. They hung in this game, gave him a chance to win. If he could clean up some of them turnovers and just play a little bit better, they definitely had a shot here. So I'm not saying Seattle maybe couldn't win some playoff games. They absolutely could, right? They could win in the postseason, but it's on Sam Darnold to play a little bit better. And, A.J. Barner, that is a guy, I know we mentioned it on the live stream last night. People were like dumpster diving for tight ends. I said, look, go get him, right? It's not going to happen every week, but he is a guy that, has been playing low key pretty well for this team. So if he's still out there on you guys' waiver wires and you need a tight end, that's a guy that I wouldn't mind getting. And look, he's going to give you at least solid production, I feel. So A.J. Barner ain't a bad shout out either. We love JSN. I think he's a top 3 dynasty receiving asset, slam dunk. But okay, Bob. We talked about the Seattle Seahawks. Hopefully Sam Darnold could just pick it up a little bit. But we're going on to the last topic. What do we have?
All right. So I just kind of wanted to wrap everything up and maybe give a little snippet or whatever, my own opinion. I'm just going to go game for game here. Washington drastically needs, a little bit of an overhaul as far as players go. I think a lot of their guys are too old. Their wide receiver core is absolute trash water. I put that in the chat. Like, I don't, they need McLaurin, but not only do they need a healthy McLaurin, they need like 3 other guys. I can't, maybe Luke McCaffrey can be somebody, but I don't know if I trust it. And they need Jaden Daniels back to be even a remotely successful team. The Dolphins, like, them winning this game is totally asinine in my opinion. I don't know if it's McDaniels just trying to save his job or whatever. They were the better team on this day, whatever. And then beating Buffalo last week, I don't know, man. They really needed to just kind of shoot to the bottom, and they're not doing it. And I don't know. They needed to be bigger sellers. The Panthers, we talked about them. Bryce Young for throwing for 450 yards and 3 TDs is like, it's wild. But like, again, I don't know if he's good. I think that there's times when it's like, hey, he shows up and other times he doesn't. And obviously it's like he's got the Kyle Pitts narrative, right? He's got one team that he picks on. Like he picks on the Falcons. This is his, second game against the Falcons that I think he's had a pretty good game. We didn't really talk about the Buccaneers or the Bills. I'm not worried about either one of these teams. This is two teams I want to go get dynasty assets on, but I also don't know if I want to ever have a Bills wide receiver. I can't decide. I can't pick anybody and be right. Like we could say, oh, Khalil Shakir, or we could say this guy, Terrell Shavers. Like, are you kidding me? Like I told in the chat, like I had this guy on Dynasty or Debbie rosters or whatever, like 5 or 6 years ago, and he just disappeared. And then now all of a sudden he's like 90 yards and a touchdown today, whatever. You want Josh Allen and you want Baker Mayfield. The Chargers, no team needs their offensive line to be healthy worse than the Chargers. That's all there is.
Yeah.
If that offensive line's healthy, they hum. And if not, Jacksonville, I don't even know what to think about Jacksonville. They are the Jekyll and Hyde of the no plan team. It seems like they might have it figured out, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, we don't really have a plan. We're just going to do whatever we want. It's like I don't even know what to think about them.
They go rogue, Jacksonville.
Yeah. ATN might be a good buy for his future team. Like I don't know, because like sometimes I see him do good stuff, but I'm like, is it the team or is it Travis Etienne? I don't know. The Bears and the Vikings. The Bears, like, man, Caleb Williams is such a quality athlete. And I know that this is just astonishing for Bob to have praise about Caleb Williams. He's a very good athlete, but like, I don't understand how we're excited about this for fantasy. Yes, it gives him a longer launch pad or whatever, but like I was like, well, if we get Jared Goff, are we going to be happy? No, but like, we're not even getting Jared Goff. This guy's throwing sub 200 yards, no scores, barely getting any. Like this week, he barely had any. Well, he had 26 rushing yards on the ground or whatever. And yeah, they won the game, so that's great. But I don't know. And the Vikings, no one needs. They seem to be falling apart. Maybe it's JJ McCarthy. Maybe it's offensive line. Maybe it's just time for Kevin O'Connell to switch things up and, whatever. It's probably got a lot to do with McCarthy, and I just, am down on it. The Packers and the Giants. Man, the Packers, I don't know. They should have just stonewalled the Giants, and they didn't. And the Giants are so Jekyll and Hyde. Firing Daboll was so stupid. I don't even know why they would consider it. But they needed to put it all together. And Winston, I think Winston could be a quarterback in this league. Yes, you might have a 30 for 30 season or whatever, but I think that, there's also times when you look at him and you're like, no, that's not right. I was telling my wife, I was like, yep, sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. He is a switch on and switch off guy. The Bengals, they're trash. They need to be done. They just need to quit and give it all up. And if they could trade Burrow for the 5 first to the Jets or whatever, good luck to Joe Burrow, but they'll still be bad and whatever. They should have never done that. The Steelers or whatever put a decent game together, but man, they're going to rely on Mason Rudolph now for hopefully Aaron Rodgers isn't hurt bad. But like, this goes to a point that I want to make. Like we're again 60 something quarterbacks probably close to having starts this year. Like that's a lot of QBs. It's like in Dynasty, we like to think oh man, we got our quarterback set for the, blah, blah, blah. And yes, we can see who the talented guys are, but we can't even remotely predict the injuries and stuff that are going to happen. So if you're in super flex leagues, 2 QB leagues, just hoard QBs. And I don't want to say that too loud because there's some people that hoard terrible QBs, but you got to have QBs. Texans, Titans. I don't know about either one of those teams. I ain't going to talk about it. The Cardinals, this should show that they need an in-the-pocket passer. Now, whether or not it's not Brissett, so don't hear what I'm not saying, but they need to get a guy that's an in-the-pocket passer because Michael Wilson's got talent. Marvin Harrison's got talent. This could be a pick a defense apart type team, but they got to have a guy that delivers the ball on time. We talked about the Rams and the Seahawks. The Ravens, watch out. God, I hate it because I don't want to say I hope that they fall into the doldrums there, Wiz, but I also was like, it was too predictable. It's like, oh, now here they're all going to get healthy and suck. The Browns are terrible. Shadur Sanders looks like trash still, by the way, just in case you were wondering. He was the third string guy on the team for a reason. And even Dylan Gabriel looked better. And that's amazingly terrible to say because I can't even begin to fathom that. The Chiefs getting beat by the Broncos is kind of a shock. That's the Broncos' first team to beat that was of any talent. And go Lions. I hope they beat the Eagles. That's all I got.
All right, Bob. So let me just ask you this. Low key, I'm not saying the Chiefs are finished, but do you think that this is the retool process? I mean, they might not be that dominant force that we've seen over the past 3-4 years because, look, you know it. I know it. They're the class of the NFL. But, man, oh, man, it's hard to keep going to Super Bowls each and every year. Players get older. Players get beat up. I mean, do you think this is like a retool moment for the Chiefs? Like maybe these next 2-3 years are critical to rebuild this thing around Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, I think they got to do something. First off, they got to get a running game. You know what I mean? Every week, every time I'm on this microphone, you're going to hear me talk about some team needs to get a running game because that's explaining to my wife about, and of course, everybody's wife is not the same. Mine listens to me rant and she tries to keep up. But for the most part, I'm like, hey, look, it's like if you can run the ball, you can pass the ball because for the most part, you just got to, it creates open area because people are going to want to be on their toes to protect against the run because nobody likes it when you're just getting beat up through the run game. So if you can run the ball, you can pass the ball. Now you got to have a guy that's a little efficient back there, of course, which is, the big knock on right now, JJ McCarthy and Justin Fields or whatever. They're just not efficient passers behind the line. So, but yeah, and it's like, they need to establish something. I mean, right now they need to build. I don't. This has been my knock on Rice, right? Like I'm afraid that at a certain point they're going to be like, well, we don't want to pay you because we're going to have to do this. We don't want to have to. Their defense has lost pieces, but it's gained pieces. It's like they signed Nick Bolton to that long-term deal. Like I don't know if that was right for them. They inked Karlaftis to a big deal. Do what?
They let L'Jarius Sneed go. I mean, like they've made some odd decisions as far as like who stays, who goes. And I'm agreeing with what you say, Bob. But like my biggest thing is with what you said, I think is the biggest problem. They need a running back. And why in the world they didn't trade a third for Breece Hall, knowing that you need a running back? I just like what's a third to a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, right? That's just kind of what my thoughts are. And that's why it was deflating. And we went over that from whistle to whistle because it was like, man, oh man, like I get it. Every draft pick's valuable, but this team, if they turn it on, they got players. They could get it done. They got the coaching. They got the quarterback. And it just was odd to me. They just couldn't part with that third round pick.
You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. You know what I mean? I don't understand why some teams, there's a lot of teams that do, you know what I mean? That this show wouldn't exist if there wasn't stupid people doing stupid things. You know what I mean? Like the thing that we expected is that team, we expected them to have a plan and they aren't, or they don't. And it's great for the NFL and those of us that don't want to see another dynasty. Right. But it's also bad for, assets that were like, hey, look, man, we expected this to work out and it's not, and I mean, Patrick Mahomes is still scoring fantasy points for us because he's running the ball around. Like Denver managed to hold that in check a little bit today. I believe I didn't see any big runs from Mahomes. Let's see. Cause I legitimately had it up and then I turned it off.
Well, let me just say this real quick. Like the thing is too, the AFC West, I mean, it just isn't the Chiefs playground anymore because like you got Jim Harbaugh there who can coach. You got Sean Payton there who can coach, right? So like they brought in players and coaches to try to combat this. And I'm not being disrespectful class of the NFL, but I think maybe they got a little high on their own supply there, right? Like we could do whatever. Sometimes you need a little bit of a humbling, a little bit of a wake-up call. So it's coming up for the Chiefs. They need to do something to get this thing kick-started again, I feel.
Right. Yeah. There's there's a lot of teams that I mean I would love to play GM for. You know what I'm saying? Like this is one of them, and
Yep.
I mean, like you said, why you didn't part with the third to get, you know what I mean? And it's like, I mean, they could have parted with the third and signed him to a long term deal probably, and he'd have just been tickled pink, and you'd have been running the ball like crazy. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe they looked at him like he was a knucklehead, or maybe they didn't like him in the scouting process. There's no telling. But like it's kind of dumb. Like you should be, and it's like what we said before. This is a team that gave up a third plus that I can't remember for Kadarius Toney. Like you thought that was a good idea, but going to getting this running back is not a good idea. Stupid people winning stupid prizes.
And you know this too, Bob. If they bring in Breece Hall, that elevates the whole football team, right? Because it's like, okay, ownership, management saying we're going for it. They believe in us. Like that's big for a football team. You know, it really is. It can be a confidence builder, not just to get Breece Hall there to have him to help the running game, but to help the team's spirits. That's always a big team. But Bob, what a great episode again. He's got good stuff for us. I'm glad we went over some of these teams, specifically the 49ers, the Patriots, because they right now, in my opinion, for fantasy football, dynasty fantasy football, so many good assets there to help you win championships at this point. And I'm glad we got to bring them up. But if you guys are listening on Spotify, Apple Pod, Stitcher, Amazon, any of the big podcasting platforms, and you haven't yet, please follow and 5-star. Appreciate that more than you know. If you are watching on YouTube for the first time, please like and subscribe. We've been getting a bunch of response over there. We're getting closer to 300 subscribers. You guys are the best. We really started to build our presence over there. Follow us on Twitter at DynastyDNA_. Listen, I know I speak for Bob, everybody here at the Dynasty DNA Network when I say we hope you guys have a great rest of your week ahead of you. Get Monday start wins. Good luck in all your Week 11 games, what's remaining. And we will see you all on the next episode